everyone, it's Daphne, and I've mapped out some of the papers that I want to use. And again, this is page 6 and it's the same as page 3. So what we're going to have is a flap here and another flap here that also has a pocket on it. And we're going to use this ephemera card. So I've got this ephemera card. I went ahead and put a magnet on the back side here so I don't forget. And that's going to hold this ephemera card closed. I'm going to set that aside for the time being. We have this large flap that is going to open to the left. Attached to that flap will be this panel. So the whole thing is going to open like so. And then over here we have a pocket. And then that pocket is actually on a flap. So let's go ahead and get started by laying down these very straightforward pieces. Let's cover the pocket and then we'll do the pocket insert. And I have to think about that for a second because I think I need a magnet here. I do. So there's going to be a magnet right here that's going to be attracted to this side. So let's go ahead and put a magnet in here. Okay, I just want to make sure that that is going to reach over far enough to cover or to grab the magnet on the opposite side, so it will. So let's go ahead and put this in, and then we'll lay, and so when I say let's go ahead and put this in, let me tell you what I did. It is, I centered 1 inch in, 1 inch from the edge of the pocket. Actually, I'm gonna do this backwards. I'm gonna do it the other way so that we will get this side constructed so that we can verify the placement of the magnet. So start with the flap without the pocket. I think. Yep, okay. Okay, looks good. Okay, the other thing that's going to be very straightforward is this pocket liner, so let's go ahead and get that in. And just so you know, I did the same thing on page 3 where I created 3 2-inch strips. So there's a 2-inch strip here and then there's going to be 2 2-inch strips here. And I'll add those in a minute. So this is going to go like so. So we've got this in. So now the next thing we can do is we'll finish this card. And I'm going to have it open this way. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So, okay. We need to have a magnet on this side. And the reason I'm doing that, and I mentioned this when I did the first one, is I'm not sure I'm going to line the inside of this. So if I don't, I have an option if I put the magnet on the top side. So that's why I placed it there. If I have enough paper when I'm finished, I'll line it, but if I'm short, then that's where I'm gonna not cover something. This is a 8 by 10 or 8.5 by 10.5 inch album, so it's a large album. So I'm trying to be cautious until I get to the very end on where I'm putting paper. Just want to make sure it's grabbing all the way around the magnet. And to the corners. Okay, now I've got the magnet underneath here, and then the attracting magnet is on the back side, and it's going to get laid in like so. But before we do that, let's go ahead and put the flip side of the ephemera card into the card. So as you know, if you're familiar with Graphic 45, for every ephemera you get 2 copies, and I like to use it as the top and the inside. You could use an alternating pattern or even just leave it black inside, but I like to go ahead and leverage the journaling cards, both sides. Okay, it's going to close like so. Let's pull this in. This is going to be centered here. It's pretty straightforward. Let me get my pick tool. Okay, and I'm just gonna eyeball this. And real quick, I'm gonna use this just to make sure I've got a straight line. Looks good. Just moved it up just a little because it looked a little low. Let's go ahead and open it up. Okay, again, I may or may not line this side. I haven't decided. Okay, so that's in. So the next piece is going to be this little extender, which is going to get attached to the underside of this flap and then come across like so. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out how far over it's going to come visually and make sure I've got my magnet in the right spot. So I want to lay this in just to see what it looks like. Okay, that looks good. And then I think I'm going to use this little black topper here. Haven't decided. So it looks like that's about it. There's the magnet, so it's going to come over plenty. So I'm going to draw a quick line right here. And the reason I want to do that is I want the black cardstock to come all the way over, but I don't want this red to come all the way over because it just makes this bulkier. So I'm going to trim down my red. Like so, and then this will be glued like so, and then it'll lay down like this. Okay, so that's just to not have that additional layer of cardstock here, that's all. And it'll also help us place it on here. It's just going to go right up to the edge of the red. So I need to ink it and glue it down, and I'm going to give you the measurements. This black square is 4 by 4. So the black square is 4 by 4, and then this red piece I put on there is 3 7/8 by 2.5, roughly. But again, we're looking to make sure that that's visually pleasing, and I think it is, so it's going to go in just like so. And that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is go ahead and add some glue here and put it in like so. it sideways. I want it centered. Roughly, and I'm just doing what's visually pleasing. There's not really any markers or pattern that's going to make it stand out if it's not exactly right. Okay, so now that I have this in, and now that we have this magnet, okay, so I've decided this comes over far enough that I actually want to move my magnet over. So I'm going to place this one and then change this one. Because since I have so much reach over to the pocket, that's what I want to do. Shift it down. Okay, let's go ahead and lift this one up. I'm using a solid piece of designer cardstock to cover here, so even if I mar the paper a little bit, it's okay, it's going to be completely covered. Okay, now that I've done that, I'll find the location by folding it over and letting it land and pushing it into place. It's time to do my nails because they're getting so long I can't work with them. Okay, now I'm just going to close it. Here's our location. See, it's shifted down probably a ½ inch, and I think it just holds everything together more securely. This is going to go here. Things are moving right along. If you were with me on page 3, you can see the difference between thinking things through and jumping in with both feet before you're ready, because this is going together quite quickly and smoothly. And page 3 was a little bit of a nightmare for me. And that happens actually quite a bit. I just don't always film it, so you guys don't get to see it. So a lot of times I think something's gonna work a certain way, and then I put it together and I'm like, oop, I didn't think that through. And I get that all ironed out before I start the camera. But since I did capture it, I wanted to give you guys the benefit of viewing it. For some of you, you don't really care, but others that are actually doing your own design work or wanting to learn how to do your own design work, I think it's beneficial to see how to think things through, and then also how to overcome issues if you run into them. Very good. So there we are, coming right along. Now I've trimmed this out, and I'm going back and forth about what I want to do here, but to me that's just too much red, so I'm sort of leaning toward this. Here's my hesitation. There's all that black right there. So I think it might be a little bit too much. So what I'm going to do, this is page 6. I'm going to pull in, I'm working out of order, so I'm going to pull in page 7, and let's look at it side by side and see how we feel about adding additional black here, if it still feels like it's flowing nicely. And I prefer this rather than having it nothing. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to trim this extra black off so that it butts right up here. And this was just a little piece of scrap that I had, so I'm going to have it butt just like that. And I'm just going to center it. So it's just a little piece of scrap that I had, and I trimmed it so I'd have sort of an equal border all the way around it. And I'm going to glue it down. I think it was just a little too plain. If I had a different red pattern here, I would have been happy, but a solid red just doesn't do it for me. I wanted to use checkerboard, but the checkerboard comes in black, green, and one other color, but not red. So if I had red checkerboard, that's what would be right here, just like on the previous one. All right, I'm pretty happy with how this is coming together. There we go. I think that looks nice. Now I'm going to pull page 7 out because we don't need to look at it anymore, but I wanted to make sure that they flowed together nicely. Okay, now we need to work on all the B sides. So as I mentioned before, I went ahead and cut 2" by 7 7/8, and they're going to go on the outside edges like so. And here's why. When you have this one closed, you're going to see this pocket, and I just think this looks very nice and makes it look continuous, and then when you open it, you'll see this again. So that is where that came from. It doesn't look like I inked them, so let's do that. course, we'll need to cover the back of this, but I'm not sure what I'm doing with it yet because I don't know what I have planned here yet. I got to pull those papers back in, take a look, and make a couple of decisions. But this is getting, definitely all the A-sides are in and our magnets are placed. So you guys will have to let me know how page 6 went compared to page 3. If it was easier for you, just like it was for me. Hopefully. Hopefully it was. If you're new to the channel, well, even if you're not new to the channel, I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. We had some special tape tear tools made. I was able to get my hands on some of this sort of fluorescent green, not me, but the person who makes them, which is Martha Jackson. Thank you, Martha. Got some of this green, so that they're normally clear acrylic. I'm really liking this. It's easier for me to locate. So if you feel like you've got one and you're having a hard time locating it, or if you want yours to look different than whoever you're crafting with, my sister keeps trying to make off with mine, so this will make it a lot harder. And I think actually what I'll do is give her my clear one and hang on to this one. So we had some of these made. They are limited release, just because she only had so much of this acrylic, and acrylic is getting extremely hard to come by because of COVID. All the acrylic is going into personal protection. You'll see it, you know, at your grocery store, the bank, and anywhere they're trying to separate people. So it's hard for us to get acrylic for anything. It won't be forever, but it is at the moment. So we do have clear and this green in, and again, the green is going to be a limited release. So if you like it, get your order in. And that is it for now. I'm going to take a break, cool my room down, turn my studio light off for a while to cool the room down. When I come back, we are going to cover the inside and B side of the 2 flaps and finish up this page. So I hope I have enough paper to cover the inside of this. I think I will, but we'll come back to that. So thanks everybody for tuning in. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create. If you have not already, please subscribe to our channel. You'll be automatically notified every time we have new content. And if you're new to the channel, the way we structure things is in a playlist. So Christmas time will be the name of this playlist. Our playlists are organized with all the videos that it takes to build an album, from bare paper and chipboard all the way up to a completed album. The first video is always going to be the walkthrough, so you can see exactly what you're going to be building. The second one builds your base album. The following videos will give you the cut list and the instructions to add the flaps and pockets and the designer paper. So 1 is what you're going to build, 2 is the actual base album, which is the number of pocket pages and the outside substrate of the album itself. And then videos 3 through whatever are the ones that are adding the unique features for this project. So be sure to check out those playlists. We have over 50 completed projects with accompanying tutorials. And I've mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. If you find a tutorial on our channel, it is free. It remains free. We have no intent of taking any of our content down. The only way that'll happen is if something comes up with YouTube. So if you start a project with us, you'll be able to finish your project with us. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create. See you soon. Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and while I was away, I went ahead and trimmed out the rest of the papers for the B side and the base page, base pocket page. So I've got those ready. So let's go ahead and open this up and get started. And I'll tell you where everything came from. So this pattern came from the 12 by 12 collection pack. This pattern came from the 8 by 8 collection pack. And this one came from the 8 by 8 collection pack as well. And it was just a little scrap I had left over. So let's start with the big one. So if you guys were watching some of my videos earlier, Nala was pitching a fit because she wanted to go out. So I took her for a walk and it was awful. It is very smoky and very hot, but she's not barking anymore, so that's a win. But it's, I even wore a mask out and I could still taste the smoke. It's awful. Awful, awful. Hopefully they'll get something under control here, or we'll get some rain or something to help quell this. It's pretty terrible to breathe, but I also just, my heart goes out to those folks that live in that area, and how upside down their lives must be. Earlier today we got an emergency alert that they were evacuating the areas. So hopefully everybody's getting out safe along with their animals. Okay, let's go ahead and add this one. I'm going to test that real quick to make sure, yep, it's going to close. I just want to make sure I was out of the hinge area enough that it would close. And since we're on this side, let's go ahead and add this. I know I mentioned it before, but I'm going to keep mentioning it. Now's the time to stock up on your art glitter glue. As soon as temperatures get below 30, we can't ship, and then there's also a hard cutoff date from art glitter glue where we just can't get it, we can't order it, so they won't ship it to us either. So if you think you're in need, stock up now. That's, I think, the only item that we have that is bound by season or temperature. Everything else I think we can ship anytime, providing availability, but it's not driven by temperature. I try to do a better job keeping up on when I drag glue onto my mat so that it doesn't become such a project when it's time to clean it. But then you have to be careful about where you put your wipe so you don't warp your paper. Okay, so that is page 6. So let's walk through it real quick. So we've got an ephemera card that opens, left, right, lots of space for photos. And I mentioned it before, but this space winds up being pretty much perfect for a vertical 4x6 photo. This ephemera card is roughly 4x6, so I think that makes for 2 nice spots. And then here you could do something in a landscape format. That's it. That is the end of page 6. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe and you'll be notified every time we have new content. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard, and I just want to let you know that we organize our projects by paper name. So if you look for Christmas time, you're going to come up with the playlist, which has all the videos from start to finish to build this album. Thanks for tuning in. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create. I'll be back soon.